In Nigeria, some people parade themselves in flowing babariga, and some women in a golden brassiere or bra. And if you ask them how they get their wealth, the usual answer is, "Na God, oh." Lovely ladies and gentlemen, welcome. It is good to see you. Have you ever wondered why the British commissioned Bishop Ajayi Crowther to translate the Bible into Yoruba language, rather than asking him to do those of chemistry, physics, and biology? What are the long-term implications for us in Yoruba land and Nigeria today as regards Christianity and religion? Have you not thought about it as a strategy for recolonizing Nigeria after the slave trade had been long abolished? What are your thoughts about Islam and Christianity being agents of imperialism in Nigeria and in Africa in general? Let me interject some aspect of Yoruba philosophy into this conversation. According to Yoruba adage, mo gbọ́n tán mo mọ̀ tán, ara rẹ̀ ló ń tàn jẹ. Literally, it means anyone who believes he knows it all and sees himself as the wisest deceives himself. In another context, ọgbọ̀n ọdún ni wèrè ẹ̀mí, meaning this year's wisdom is another year's foolishness. Yet another adage says ọ̀nà kan kò wọjà, meaning not only a road leads to the marketplace. Today, Nigeria has elevated the Bible to a new level, and pastors can tell and propagate the Jewish history far better than the Jews themselves. Religion may appear to have provided a momentary emotional stability for its followers. However, there is a flip side to it that has not been beneficial to the public. It was the tool for colonization and the festering of the despicable era of slave trade. With the religion, Islamic religion and Christianity and traditional religion in Nigeria, you find children begging for food on the streets in Nigeria. That's child abuse. That's child neglect. Every child requires child protection as a right. Today, religion, particularly Christianity, has enriched not a few of its leaders who are unabashed about their fortunes and are readily flaunting their private jets as trophies for success. The same goes for the Islamic religion, which has made some alfas and Islamic clerics more religious than the avowed founder of their faith. The Islamic faith may not have equaled their Christian counterparts in the aspect of flaunting their words, because their Christian counterparts, leaders, have practically turned their churches to commercial ventures, jointly run by them and their nuclear family members. The incalculable damage religion has wreaked on Nigerians is profound. It has produced a fearful, subservient, docile, impoverished, ill-informed, angry faithful, and a horde of dishonest people who are now like Machiavellians in their approach to life. To them, there is no limit to atrocities, especially once they can escape unpunished. It is sadder, especially when it involves those in position of authority. Most criminals in Nigeria are perceived followers of religions, though they might just be going there for the cruise. Their heart might be somewhere else. Little wonder, thieves, fraudsters, rogue public servants, ritualists, and others believe that once they offer 10% of their ill-gotten wealth to religious organizations as tithes, or give alms or zakat, their filthy money will be made clean. When one considers the prevalence of kidnappings, abductions, ritual killings, the abysmal level of poverty, insecurity, police brutality, Yahoo Plus, armed robbery, and political assassinations, what quickly comes to mind is perhaps Nigeria has regrettably reverted to the obedient state of nature, where might is right, as postulated by the English philosopher Thomas Hobbes in his book Leviathan. According to Hobbes, under such a situation, life will be solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short, which sadly is what the country is drifting towards. Remember, before the partition of Africa and the eventual colonization of the black race, the Yoruba people were organized and had a credible mode of government, usually headed by their kings. According to a Yoruba philosophy espoused by the late professor of African philosophy, Professor Sophie Oluwole, àgbààgbà mẹ́rin ní ìṣèlú, àgbààgbà ọkùnrin, àgbààgbà obìnrin, àgbààgbà àjèjì, àti àgbààgbà ọmọdé. Literally, translated to English language, it means 4 sets of elders rule the community: men elders, women elders, non-indigenous elders, and youth elders. The level of poverty and humiliation of the elderly begging for food on the street of Nigeria has to stop. As I was saying, the traditional Yoruba society style of government was and is still very inclusive and equitable, with checks and balances. A girl and a boy child have equal rights to their parents' inheritances. Migrants or strangers living with Yoruba people are often allowed to participate in governance because Yoruba people recognize that no permanent condition exists. According to them, people should be free to change locations without being discriminated against. And if a non-indigenous showed industry and good character, he or she will be treated as one of them. Hence, the popular saying that Ole nikan la yogba, ebi gbogbo lo gba lágbára, meaning only the lazy will have no place to operate, as an industrial one is loved by all. However, because the monarchical and communal system of governance has been replaced by the modern-day democracy, and getting back to that pristine Yoruba setting is practically impossible as the society has evolved and moved on. Moreover, it is important to know that without the features of an equitable living, love and openness in the package, democracy may not function properly and the people may not get its dividends. While the mighty and the powerful may have their ways, the poor and the masses may not be that lucky, and they will be lost in the system, and thereby stoking unrest and civil disobedience, which may make the country drift into the Obesian state. Equitable access to wealth, affordable healthcare, education, employment, welfare to the masses, and the fiscal autonomy for adults to pay their own fair share of tax are essential elements of social policy that drives democracy in a modern age in any country that worth its name. You might not be thinking, okay, what is government itself? Simply put, government is the machinery that makes the law, executes the law, and interprets the law. Simple. Just for law and order to exist, that is what the government about. Make the law, execute the law, and interpret the law. So that's why we have the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. However, what is governance? Governance is a deliberate and systematic mechanism that ensures the safety and protection of a country's citizens and properties. It also involves creating and distributing wealth fairly and justly so that nobody in the society will be left with no income. It is wrong finding the children of the poor hawking on the street in Nigeria. It is an offense of child abuse and neglect. The children need protection. What are the primary root causes of problems and issues in Nigeria? Poverty, illiteracy, tribalism, and lack of accountable leadership at all government and public service levels, among other things. There should be some practical and strategic solution. 1, we must have a Nigerian vision. Let us consider a vision for Nigeria as a multicultural society that is based on equality and partnerships, a mutual coexistence of a genuine community that is safe, friendly, and accepts and celebrates differences. 2, we must make Nigeria a welfare state. The only difference that separates those countries that appear to be working and Nigeria is that no citizens of those countries are left without an income. We must change our mindset of believing that Nigeria is poor, when the wealthiest people in Africa are from Nigeria. Nigeria is tagged the poverty capital of the world by the former British Prime Minister. What an insult. We must change that narrative. The power to do is collectively in our hands. Remember this. If social welfare is stopped in Britain today, the country will go up in flames in the next 3 months. Suppose a rights-based approach welfare system is implemented in Nigeria today, we set measures of preventing fraud, most issues we have today will disappear. More employment will be created. The population purchasing power will increase. More investors will be attracted, and the tourism industry will develop. Do you think tourists would like to be disturbed by beggars on the street when they come visiting Nigeria? So we have to take care, look after our vulnerable people in the society, the poor men, women, and children, and those that are physically challenged or with a mental disability. It is vital to be aware that while some Nigerians want to make Nigeria great, don't be naive to be aware that foreigners from developed countries, including United States, United Kingdom, UK, Russia, and China, will naturally not be happy to allow us to grow properly. They may not come directly to say it as a government, but they are agents, including the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank Organization, the multinationals, with the connivance of their cronies who do their bidding, including those Africans who have made names for themselves working for them. They will cleverly attempt to make us to be perpetually looking up to them when we have all it takes by ourselves. However, we must take a deliberate, conscious, intelligent, and strategic approach to addressing our issues. It's not a fire brigade approach. we can take some necessary steps to protect Nigerians from being vulnerable to most issues plaguing the country. People out of ignorance are today dying in the Mediterranean Sea because they want to travel to Europe at all costs. And the Europeans are scoring some political points with those misfortunes affecting Nigerians and many other African countries. This must stop. Research has shown that the white race is not superior to the black race at an individual level. However, I doubt if that assertion will pass the test when we look at a country like Nigeria collectively regarding governance compared to any developed nations in Europe and the US. Those who had Japa will tell you that when Nigerians travel to live overseas, they automatically lose their social capital, which cannot be quantified. An equitable environment must be created in Nigeria to make Nigerians breathe and not hustle themselves to death in foreign countries. What can be done to avoid being just rhetoric? Today, for instance, there is a perception and a narrative that certain members of the legislature, the executive, the judiciary, and the public service should not be there because they have stained their hands in the recent past. While this may be true, partially, those in that category are very few. There are many upright women and men in the public service, the legislature, the judiciary, and the executive. However, so as not to paint all government employees and public officials with the same brush, as criminals, we must implement a more robust to prevent the infiltrations of malicious actors at all levels. As a preventative measure, we must be systematic and strategic about our public institutions. There must be a method for weeding out those unfit for public service and those whose complaint is that they are not allowed to loot its treasury and not that they frown at the criminal activities of embezzlement. When you see some people complaining, it's not as if they are complaining that people are stealing. It's just that they are complaining that it is not they themselves who have the access or opportunity to steal. So, the tool and mechanism to prevent and remove unsuitable people from public service and essential duties must apply to all individuals and the entire population to change the negative public perception of civil servants, the members of legislature, the executives, and the judiciary, as the case may be. Because the perception is that they are all criminals, and it is not true. This will prevent a further incursion of people with criminal records into the system. An impregnable digital process, which no one can control, should be in place. When there is a consequence for any infraction, people will start to behave themselves. The process will protect the system and enrich the integrity of public institutions, irrespective of who you know. It will also strengthen our democracy and the rule of law. Nigeria's only measure, if you need to say, okay, they want to know whether you have a criminal record in Nigeria, it is only those people that have obtained a prison sentence. However, there are people that are known to the police, to the DSA, the FCC. So it's not sufficient for only prison sentence to prevent somebody from working in government institutions or public institutions. So some people are already known to the police, the DSS, the FCC, with overwhelming evidence of violence and crimes, including members of criminal murderous fraternities that are known for killing each other. Still, because they have not been committed to prisons, they find their way to work in public service because the police character certificate will clear them if they have not been served a custodial sentence. Also, these people, you find them teaching in public schools, working in hospitals, and are elected as representatives. Nigeria can be better than that. If you think you are powerful today and have influence, do you think your grandchildren will have the same power when they grow up? And if adequate systems are not provided to protect them in the future, what do you think is going to happen to their life? Everything that you struggle for will be in vain. Every employee must go through a criminal records check where data will be consulted before anyone is provided with any employment in the public service and government parastatals, including schools, tertiary institutions, and hospitals. There should be a universal cash monthly payment to children from age 0 to 17. Also, the physically challenged people and the elderly above age 60 who do not take any pension at all, including those whose pension is less than 50,000 monthly. Without a welfare of cash payment to those that need them, Nigerians are not immune to anything bad, because they will be vulnerable. There's no way that you can enforce the rule of law. The thuggery, the people will always be there to use for thugs, to use for assassination, political assassination, to use for anything, So, in addition, it makes people to be exposed to religious indoctrination, exploitation, extremism, and easy access to Nigeria by terrorist organizations. Primarily, when the citizens cannot feed themselves as a result of government failure, they will be vulnerable to anything. So, a rights-based approach of providing social welfare to Nigeria is paramount. And when I say welfare, I'm not talking about giving palliative as a buying rice that some people will hoard, that people should be trusted. Money should be sent directly to their accounts, directly, monthly, so that there will be expectation. They will know that, okay, at the end of this month, I can do this. So people will be able to, it will add more value to people. And collectively, it will go a long way. 3, every adult who lives in the oil-producing area should be paid 50,000 naira monthly as an inconvenience allowance. The only condition for the entitlement is that the person must be able to prove that they have been residing in the area before they can access the money, and will stop once the individuals moves away from the area. All this middlemen, transactional way, charitable thing that we have been engaging in Nigeria in the name of welfare, it should be abolished. People should be trusted. The system should be put in place. We can't continue like this. Fourthly, those low-paid workers with private small businesses who earn less than 20,000 naira monthly should be paid an additional 20,000 naira monthly by their local government of domicile, subject to their employment. It will help their commitment to work and improve integrity. It will help businesses grow and help the benefiting staff augment their pay on a right base and not on a charity. This can only be achieved with specific ministry work together through interagency and intra-agency collaboration. We can refer the provision of the 1999 Constitution and the Data Protection Act 2023 provision for the process to make Nigeria better and not as business as usual. As the Yoruba will say, which translates in English as, if a thief is not ashamed, his family are ashamed. It will be an intellectual and political rape of the elderly, women and children and men who voted for the present government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his Vice President Kashim Shettima. If a right-based approach is not implemented in the cash payment of social welfare to children from birth till they are age 16, the elderly from age 60 who does not have a pension that is up to 50,000 naira monthly or income above 50,000 naira monthly, and pay extra money for those living in the oil-producing area as a inconvenient allowance. It is a dangerous slavery mentality and wrong mindset to continue selling the narrative that Nigeria is poor. Nigeria is not poor. We can start small. people should be paid directly into their bank accounts. We must stop the fire brigade approach of giving people palliatives that are not right-based, that are selective and open to fraud. One should not need to know anyone to live in Nigeria to access the basic things of life as a right. After independence, Nigeria is the only country where a Nigerian cannot be deported. So there is no another country. There is no Nigeria. If there are no Nigerians, Nigerians must first have a life, and it must be decent and not the life of beggars, with only a few people parading themselves in barbaric and golden brass. And if asked how they got the money, the usual answer is, na God do am. Tọmọdé bá bára rẹ̀ nípò àgbà, àgbà jáde lára ẹ̀. It translates into when a child finds himself in a position of the elderly, maturity will automatically ooze out of him. Àbọ̀rọ̀ lásán fún ọlọ́àbí tó bá dénú ẹ̀ àdòdìdì. Thank you for listening. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.